Recently, someone asked me for an update on the Firebelly Newt tank. I'm gonna turn this light off so I don't scare them away. All right, so just so you guys know, they're still here and they're still doing well. I think I spooked them a little bit. Yeah, so this one right here has a lighter colored belly than the other one, and it has more of a broken up spot pattern. This one's name is Scrappy. I call him that because he's a little bit more energetic than the other one, has always been. And if you look behind him, you might see the tail of another Firebelly Newt. There he is. So I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see. So there's Scrappy walking away, well, swimming away, wading away, whatever the heck you want to call it. This one right here, this one named Snappy because he's a very efficient eater. This guy will literally just bite at whatever is moving in front of him. He eats it up really well. The other guy, he'll look for food, but he'll miss a few times. This guy's a very efficient eater. So I noticed that when they were young. Let me see. So, let's just talk about their enclosure since I haven't talked about it in years. Just so you guys know what's going on here. So, these guys live in a 10-gallon tank. The water is lukewarm. I do not heat this water because these Chinese Firebelly Newts do not like warm water. They like cool water. And my room stays cool enough where this water doesn't really get too hot. It definitely doesn't get anywhere above room temperature. Now, the reason the water looks so crystal clear is because I did clean the water last week. I did deep cleaning. I cleaned the gravel and everything. Changes I would make to the future. The gravel here is kind of small. I've never seen them ingest gravel before, but just in case, I'm thinking about in the future actually changing this out and getting a larger size gravel just so there's no chance of these animals swallowing any gravel. And also, larger pieces of gravel will trap less dirt and it'll become easier to clean. Now, if you guys notice, there's actually a few small snails in here. That came from when I bought my plants for my tank, because I actually used to have another plant in here. I forgot the name of it. It's like the most common plant you'll find in the fish world. It comes in like a little bushel. It grows like crazy. I forgot the name of it, but anyway, that all melted, but it had little snails on it when it came in, and these guys, they populate kind of high from time to time. It's kind of like a mid-level where you can see them, but they're not going crazy. Well, these guys, I call them like the little chickens of the tank, because my newts, you'll see from time to time, will snap one of these little guys up. And it's cool because they actually get a nice fresh food versus just getting, freeze-dried or frozen packaged stuff. So that's pretty cool. The plant I have in here is Java Fern. I start off with 2 small pieces, maybe about the same size as that little piece right there. And I kept them in here, and plants go through their little shock stage where they shrivel a little bit because they're in a new environment. These were the packaged Java Fern that you find at PetSmart and places like that. It wasn't anything too extravagant, like if you go to one guy's website called Dustin's Fish Tanks, he says you plants that were raised and kept in water, and those. Oh, hey buddy, here's my dog. My dad just let my dog in. He was trying to get to me. He's a good boy. But yeah, so these plants were actually raised, to my knowledge, outside of water. So what you'll get with plants like that, it'll take them longer to start really thriving once you actually plant them in your aquarium. Also, these plants will have like thinner leaves when they first start growing new plants off of them and stuff like that. But anyway, the Java Fern did spread all over the tank, which is what I wanted. There's a little piece in that filter there. I gotta move that. And what I like is I have it growing on this little pagoda here. Some of it literally just attached to the stones on the ground. I don't have it buried in the stones on the ground because they do need a good amount of flow around them so that way they don't melt. And their roots, so to speak, are more anchors that stick to the sides of things. They're not actually absorbing nutrients through their roots. They absorb their nutrients through the actual big leaves you see. But you see it's stuck to the bigger stones over here and that little piece of wood in the back. Now, I don't live at home anymore, so these plants actually used to be a lot more numerous before because I like to provide my firebelly newts a lot of hiding places. But I think for a while, my mom just forgot to turn the light on in the morning, and they shrunk and melted a little bit. It's no big deal. It happens, you know. Like that's like literally the most minor thing that could happen. Once the newts are fine, I'm okay. But they're growing back nicely, so that should fill up this whole big empty area here. But you know, I have the piece of wood back here with the holes in it, and I have the dragon and this pagoda here, and they can even hide behind the filter if they want. So it's not like the tank's completely open. You know, like they have a decent amount of hiding spaces, but I do want more because this what I what I would say right here is this might be the bare minimum of what they would like, if not a little bit below. So I just try to text her to remind her to turn the light on in the morning, and this stuff is growing much bigger than what it was before. So it's growing back. No big deal, right? I do have a small Repta filter in here. The reason I chose this filter is because if you notice this surface, well, newts don't like a whole lot of current because they don't live in rivers and stuff like that where the water is like churning really hard from rapids and stuff like that. You'll find them by little creeks and some marsh areas, ponds, right? Small bodies of water that don't have a whole lot of strong water movement. Well, this little guy keeps the water nice and clean, but it doesn't stir the water too much where there's a hard current. The water's pretty placid. And what I like about it is it does a job. It's a nice dark green color. The water gets clean very quickly. I mean, it's only a 10 gallon, so it does a good job. Now, the idea in the fish hobby, well, filtration in general, it's always better to over filter than under filter because your water is going to be cleaner and it's going to be less stagnant, right? For newts, since you don't want to create too much current and movement in the water and you don't want to stress them out, my suggestion isn't really to underfilter. Underfilter is not good. Is to put the filtration right where it needs to be. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're using like a 10 gallon tank, which isn't going to be full with 10 gallons of water, then a 10 gallon filter is just fine. As you can see, they have a lot of air up top. So maybe that's like 2/3. So this might be like maybe 6 gallons of water. So a 10 gallon filter for me has worked where it's more than enough. They're doing just fine. I've had these newts for, let's see, the summer of me being 21. So let's see. Yeah, this upcoming summer, it'll be 8 years I've had these guys. And they've been thriving, doing well, eating fine. Never lost any fingers or toes. Now, one key I can say to keeping these guys alive as well as I did. Now, granted, this is not a how-to video or a care video. I'm just telling you what I do. Try not to feed them too much. I don't want them to get too fat. I check them maybe once a month, if that, maybe once every 2-3 months, where I do take them out of the water with wet hands. I don't wash my hands with soap because I don't want their skin to absorb any of the chemicals. And I just look at their eyes, and I look at their vents, and I look at their fingers and toes and their tails and their skin. And I don't do this for long. I usually do it if I have to clean the tank because I have to take them out anyway to clean the tank because I don't want them getting squished or anything. And what I do is I just make sure that everything looks the way it should, and I put them back. I don't handle my newts a lot. That's the key. It's not really the examination itself. It's not handling the newts because their skin is highly permeable. That means anything that's on your hands goes directly inside their body. Humans, our skin is permeable. But if you pour something on you that could be toxic, but you rinse it off right away, there's a very minimal effect of that being absorbed into your skin. With newts, or pretty much all amphibians, any chemical that falls in their skin is going directly into their body, and it can cause issues with their health and kill them right away. So I make sure that my hands are clean of any chemicals. I make sure my hands are moist when, or well, I should say wet with water when I pick them up, to make sure that these animals aren't getting their skin irritated, because animal that's used to always being in the water, they picked up someone with dry hands, definitely would feel uncomfortable. And I feed them like 2, 3 times a week. Well, my mom does because I'm not here anymore. But yeah, and this is just a regular full spectrum light. It's not a heat light. It's just a light so I can see on the inside. And that does good enough with the plants. Then they have this cool little magnetic, I think it's a little Exoterra turtle dock right here. It's awesome because if the water goes down a few inches, since it's magnetic, this will kind of slide with it. And they have this little dragon head they can go on top of. They can go on top of the pagoda. They can go on top of the filter. And I've literally seen them on top of all of these. So if for some reason they feel like they need to escape the water, which can be a bad sign. If your newts are constantly out of the water, that means something may be wrong with your water. You may need a water change. Maybe something spilled in there that's not supposed to be. Like if your newts are constantly out of the water and never go in it, that is a problem. You should test your water. That's a side note. But what I'm saying is they have plenty of areas where they can easily escape the water if they just want to rest, or if there's a problem. But yeah, they're doing just fine. Firebelly newts are mostly aquatic amphibians. You know, they're not like barred tiger salamanders where you get them on some wet moss and they just live on that. They're not like the red Fs, as they call them. Those little like red spotted newts. Are those red spotted newts? I think they are. I don't remember. Anyway, those little red newts that you'll see that people have, I think they find them in either upstate New York or something like that. Those guys like the wet sphagnum moss. These guys like water. They want to be in water. So just make sure your water's clean. Make sure they can't escape too. If you look on the top of this enclosure, whoops, they have a screen top that prevents them from getting loose. And the only wire I have that goes in the tank is from the filter. And as you can see, if you look at this, you know, this common screen top, there's this little slit here. And that's where I slid the wire through in the back. And it goes nice and flush, and then they can't get out. These guys can't climb plain glass. When they start crawling out of the water and they dry up a little bit, their little feet can be very sticky. And they can be escape artists. So that's another way to keep your newts alive, is make sure they don't escape and dry out and die. But yeah, these guys have been doing really well in my care so far. I said it's almost been 8 years, and these are the only 2 newts I bought during that time. I never had to buy replacements. They never died. So I think they're doing pretty good. Hey, Scrappy. Hey, Scrappy. What's up, boy? How you doing? What's up? Obviously, you can't hear me. I'm just having fun. Let's see, what's another thing? So I covered the water. Okay, yeah, the food. So the food, I like to give them a little variety, along with the snails that they have in here. This is one of the foods I tried recently. It's for all newts and salamanders. What company is this? Inverted Quarks. I'm not trying to sell this stuff. I'm just saying that this is what I've been using. They do pretty good. I also use Omega 1's Newt and Salamander formula. That's another good one. They'll get freeze-dried and frozen bloodworms sometimes. Freeze-dried Daphne if I can find it. Yeah, I just try to give them a variety of foods that are based in either fish, but mostly I want stuff that has invertebrates because that's what they eat in the wild. You know, they're not taking down whole salmon and stuff, which you'll actually find in a lot of the commercial foods for them, but they're mostly going to eat small invertebrates. You know what I mean? Like a newt would literally be lunch for salmon. You know what I'm saying? If they even existed in the same area. So, but, you know, I don't know if tiny fish exist where they live. They probably don't, which is why, here's another thing I want to put in there. I used to keep a beta fish with my newts. Don't do that. Beta fish require warmer water. Beta fish also, their fins can get nipped by the newts. It's just not comfortable for them, and also having any fish in the enclosure with the firebelly newts stresses them out because they like calm areas where they don't have a bunch of movement and stuff around them, especially in an enclosed space. That's another thing you don't want to do. I know I have an old video where I did that, and it worked out well for a little while, but ultimately in the end I wound up separating my beta fish from my newts because things just weren't going well. The beta fish's fins were being nipped. I made the change. I know I might get ridiculed for this still now because the video is still up. But as I've said in some other videos, and I'll say it again, don't put fish with newts. Just don't do it. Save yourself the headache and save your animals the headache. And yeah, this is my little update on these guys. They're doing quite well in this enclosure. They're eating well. They haven't really had any issues. I never saw anything alarming. No skin growths. Eyes look nice and clear. These animals look great. All right, guys. So if you want to see more videos, well, someone asked me for an update on the newt. So this is the update newt video. If you guys want to see any other animals, please let me know. Leave a comment. I'll write it down. I'll get it done. I love when you guys make requests. It makes this really fun because then I can give you guys more content. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, please remember to hit that bell icon so that way you guys can actually see it pop up in your feed when you want to see new videos. That way you don't miss anything. All right, guys. Have a great holiday season. Later.